Okay, so I think we have everyone on, and it's just a little after 10, and we can, before we even start with our sharing and everything, let's actually just do we'll do a really, really short little embodiment meditation to kind of get us all centered and balanced for the art sharing, because I do think that it can be really, like kind of personal and vulnerable, and I want it to feel authentic for everyone. I want you to just feel as if you're in a room full of friends sitting in a circle and sharing your pieces. But I also kind of have to, I guess, add that this video will be up publicly, so only share something if you're comfortable sharing it publicly. So just sit back in your chair. If you want to lay on the floor, that's fine too. Just do whatever is most comfortable. And then just gently close your eyes. If you are sitting in your chair, just feel your feet on the floor. Feel yourself settling into the seat. If you're laying on the floor, feel your body everywhere that touches the floor and feel it contacting the ground beneath you. Just take some nice deep breaths. Today we're going to spend a little bit of time in our heart center. So just take some of those breaths now to get yourself centered in your heart. Breathe into your heart. Let your shoulders relax. If you need to do any spine releasing, shoulder releasing, neck releasing, go ahead and just loosen it up enough so that you can really let your heart open a bit. With every in-breath, feel the energy around you, energy of love, just entering into your heart. And with your out breaths, feel that energy just expand out into your body and even in the space around you. Let every other part of your body be completely relaxed. If you notice anything tensing up, just take a moment to just let it relax. And keep expanding that heart energy. If anything comes up, there's nothing wrong with it. If you suddenly feel a little nervousness or any kind of energy that doesn't feel expansive, it's just that's what's happening, and that's okay. Just try to breathe into it. And maybe with your out breath, you can just let it go. Notice if you can feel your heart beating. Put your attention there and see if you notice it more, if you can have more of a sense of your heartbeat when you put all your attention there. Notice if it changes at all, or if you can breathe a steady rhythm. And if it does speed up at all, just see if you can slow it down. Now I'm going to have you just lift one of your hands to be like maybe about shoulder level in front of your face. It doesn't matter which hand, whichever one you feel like lifting. You just hold your hand there, still focusing on your heart. You don't have to strain. Your elbow can be comfortably rested at the side of your body. So maybe your hand will be at your neck level, maybe it'll be at your heart level, maybe it'll be higher, depending on your body proportions. There's no right or wrong place for your hand to be, but you should just be really relaxed and comfortable. We're going to take one more breath into our hearts, all breathing into our hearts together. And then I want you to just very gently open your eyes and look at your hand. Just see your hand as if you are your heart observing your hand. See if there's anything that you feel or notice about your hand that you haven't before. Also, notice how your hand feels inside, if that's changed as you have been looking at it and connecting with it. Close your eyes and go back to your heart. Has anything changed in the way your hand feels when you're not focusing on it like this? And if you want to, go ahead and connect with your hand again. Notice any changes in your whole body, anywhere, your heart, your hand, anywhere. How that switching of attention, how that affects the way your body feels. And then you can put your hand down if you want to. Rub your hands together. Your hands, the palms of your hands are nerve endings. So this energy, this warmth that you're creating by rubbing your hands together is actually now entering your body and moving up and down your body. Maybe put a little attention to the soles of your feet while you're doing this to see if you can really feel that warmth moving through your body now. And if you haven't already, then open your eyes up again. All right, good morning, everyone. Feels different saying good morning now than it did 15 minutes ago. So if you want to, anyone who wants to unmute themselves, I guess the best thing to do maybe in this situation, just so everyone's not talking at once, is just kind of wave your hand a little so I see you. But anyone that wants to share, we'll start out with anything, just whether it's just like what you just experienced with your hand and your heart, or with your, and it looks like Shannon has something to share. So go ahead and unmute, Shannon.
So I have multiple sclerosis, and if people aren't familiar with it, it's an overactive immune system in your body, attacks your body, and you get lesions in your central nervous system. So I have 48 lesions in my brain, brainstem, and my spine. And about 12 years ago, one of the lesions put numbness in my hand. And so this hand is numb all the time, and pretty significantly numb, to the point where like I have to use visual clues to see things. So when you had us go into our heart and then look at my hand, because I'm looking at my hand and then you're focusing on my hand, I was hyper aware of how numb my hand was, because normally I put it in the back of my brain and I don't think about it. But then it was bizarre. You had us go back to our heart and then think of our hand through our heart, and my hand didn't feel numb. It was bizarre. Yeah. And then we went back to look at the hand again and like actually focus on it, and it felt less numb. So I was like, whatever. It's like the whole thing with like placebos, or your mind thinks, or whatever the reason is, my hand felt less numb when I thought of it through my heart.
I love it.
So I'm like, whatever reason that worked, I'll take it. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. So much of it's all a mystery, but it's experience. I mean, I think experience is really,
and that's never happened. And I do meditation, I do things, I think through my heart and breathe through my head and all that, but I've never done it in that sequence. And so to look at a body part, to think of my body heart through my heart, like I've never done that, which is bizarre because I've done so much things. So anyway, so that was interesting. So like in the future, if my foot hurts or something, I'm gonna think about focusing in the heart, and then anyway.
And I think like that time to really get centered in the heart really makes a difference for me, because it takes me a little while sometimes. I'm like all out there, and then getting really centered in the heart before doing it. That's just amazing though. I really love hearing that. I love hearing, and actually I will share that last night I was just kind of thinking about, what do I want to open with? I knew I wanted to do a short meditation and something with embodiment, but I hadn't really figured it out exactly. And I was actually just staring at my hand. And I remembered that, or I was just thinking that, I had a moment when I was painting years back where I realized I had this realization, because I was kind of disembodied a lot of my adult life. There's with trauma and just being a modern person. I think a lot of us are. I wasn't really aware this was happening until this moment, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I was painting and I realized it's like there's this circuit going from my heart to my hand, and my head is not interfering with it when I'm painting, when I'm really in the flow, when it's really happening for me. And I was really like acutely aware of that circuit. But I never thought of it as like something to practice as a meditation until last night, when I was just like, oh, let's just do that. And that should be fun. So,
Yeah.
and getting that feedback from you just makes me feel,
And it was palpable. It was yeah. Anyway, because yeah. Like if I think about my hand through my head, it's numb. And as I like right now, I'm thinking about it, I feel super numb. It didn't feel that numb a second ago because I backed it. But thinking of it through my heart, it didn't feel numb.
oh,
I know.
wow. Well, maybe we all need to be spending more time there. I'm sure I do. Does anyone have any other like experience with the meditation itself, or like I said, anything? Yes, Rosie, do you want to unmute?
Hi, thank you, Dawn and Shannon, for sharing that. My husband also has MS, so I will share this with him. But I also wanted to share about last week. I had emailed Dawn this, but after last week's meditation, when we were done and we opened our eyes, I was looking straight at some of my paintings, and I'm kind of new at painting. And I just noticed something about them. They were similar, and I had similar shapes, and I had not noticed that before. And it was like, wow, I was looking at them with fresh eyes. So all week long, I was very excited. I had a very good week. And last night I tried to do visualization, and I kind of got some ideas. So thank you, Dawn.
Oh, good. Oh, do you want to talk about any of the ideas, or
Well,
are you talking about like for a piece for the show?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, my husband is a retired sign painter, so he worked with gold leaf. So when you close your eyes and you look like at the third eye, I see these bursts of light. So I thought of doing some gold in my paintings, because I do abstract. So, I just had
good.
And I wrote them down right away. So
that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found
that sounds, I'm excited to see what you come up with, Rosie. That sounds really cool. And I loved hearing that when you emailed me. I really appreciated that too, that hearing that, that moment of like, aha, I saw with new eyes. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to share? And I can also maybe ask specifically, does anybody feel comfortable reading some or all of what they wrote after our embodiment meditation, what my body is trying to tell me or what my body has to tell me? I know that's very personal, so it's totally up to you if you want to share, or just even a line from it if there was something that kind of came out that was a revelation. Oh, Anne, here, I'm going to have you unmute. And if you don't have a lot of background noise in your house, it's okay if you're just unmuted so you don't have to go off and on too. I know some people have like dogs barking and things like that, but otherwise feel free to just be unmuted until we go into like another meditation and stuff. That's fine. We can all treat it like a classroom. Hi, Anne.
Hi, this is really just an anecdote that I think is kind of odd and funny that I thought I would share. I did my active writing yesterday afternoon, so a little late this week, but my body had a lot to say, so I did all that, and then I went looking into Gmail for an email from you, Dawn, and I opened up my Gmail. I guess they call it junk, right? I opened up my spam. And I had an email from Teachables, and the title of it was from Teachables, your body is telling you something. And I thought, how does the internet know I just completed my active writing exercise? I thought that was so crazy. So I opened up the Teachables email, which of course was a promotional email, but the point of what they were wrapping this around was procrastination, and how if that's in your head, then there's reasons, you know, you should get over that versus your gut, and just the reasons why people procrastinate. And some of us might be thinking, you know, we're not good enough to run a Teachables or whatever. So that was kind of the point. But I just thought that was so odd to the timing of that. Vocabulary.
I notice a lot of that happening, and some of it is, you know, because everything has a mic in it and the internet hears us, but that wouldn't be, that particular case would be different. But I notice a lot of like syncing up, and sometimes, I mean, I have these sort of like, not theories even really, but just like moments where I think, you know, our brains and our computers are, they're programmed in very similar ways. So maybe there is some syncing up happening with all of us as a planet at this point, because we're all on the internet, no, not all, but so much of the population of the earth of humans are on the internet, and we're all kind of syncing. And sometimes it seems a bit like there's some big syncs happening at times, and sometimes just these like anecdotal ones, but I notice them, and I think it's kind of sometimes just a reminder of being connected, and it's fun, but also sometimes I think, oh, pay attention to that. There's a reason why it's synced, you know. And I actually got an email from a teacher that I follow about procrastination a couple days ago too, which she said some pretty interesting things about, you know, like what our procrastination sometimes is telling us. Like sometimes it's not just like I'm too busy, and you know, we're all busy, so sometimes it's that too. But interesting. And Kathleen.
Morning, everybody. My body had a very simple message, and it landed up coordinating with my 3x3 project. So my body told me that it wants out. It wants out. It wants to be with people, and it wants to be hugged. I'm tired of being alone. I mean, I have a puppy, but I'm tired of being alone, and I rarely see other people, real people. I mean, I'm seeing you here, but I just want to be with people. And so my 3x3, can I coordinate that together? Or you want to wait for the 3x3s?
We can do that. Let's do it. Let's just do it all. We'll just do a big mashup of sharing now. I think let's let it all just be natural. Do you want to just hold them up, or do you want to screen share?
I don't know how to screen share. I'll just hold it up. So the first one, which is the one that kind of syncs with what my body wants, is this picture. Can you see this? Can you see that all right?
Yeah. We're
Okay.
on gallery view. For some reason I'm not getting you. I'm gonna just pin you for a minute. There you go. You're temporarily pinned. So
it's a picture of my granddaughter's betta fish in this little bitty fish tank. And so it's the one that I'm leaving behind, because this is what I wrote. Life's path goes in circles, swimming in and out and all around, surrounded by round rocks and round rows of bubbles. In a round house, let me out. So that's my leaving behind. This one is my crossroads. And this is actually kind of a interesting photo. It's a photo of when I was cutting open a squash. And there was a seed inside that I landed up cutting the seed. And it's just got this most intricate, beautiful pattern to it. So I took a photo of it. So this one, what I wrote was, a sharpened knife exposed a beautiful seed, so complex as it gave life to new, delicious flesh above. So that's my crossroads of learning from within to develop layers of richness. So that's what I wrote
Wow.
about that one.
Is that a Zoom? Did you have to like do not Zoom like a macro for that? I mean, it looks like it's something really
No.
small, but
It's just this wonderful Apple 11 phone I have that has a fantastic camera on it. And then the one that where I want to keep is this one. I don't know if it's probably hard with my lighting here. I don't know how I can make it better. Is it, oh, can you see it at all?
you can see it pretty well.
Okay,
It
this
looks
is
like it's a bird full of eagle or a tree full of eagles.
it is, you're right. It's a tree full of eagles, and I didn't take this photo. I actually had found it a long time ago on Facebook or something like that, or the internet. But I just loved it. And so this is what I want to keep. A magnificent sight of freedom multiplied, gathered wisdom from flights afar, resting together atop blue skies, before the strength of their wings take a new path into the wind. So that's what I want to keep, a new path into the wind.
Yeah. Wow. That's a beautiful imagery for like coming out of this separation that physical separation that we're experiencing right now.
And then the third thing that I did was I listened to your meditation, and then I wrote. And what I wrote was, let my soul be free from spirits past. The pain of it will all fade away to a bright new path. God's plan, not mine, in the rain and the sun. Know myself in the truest form to be true to me and no one else. Unmask my glorious soul and creative spirit to live joyful, gratefully, lovingly until my day's end.
Thank you, Kathy.
That's my week.
It seems like there's a lot of beauty arising, even though you have expressed or a lot of frustration with the lack of physical touch.
That's part of it. And part of the other part of it, which didn't really come out in words, but kind of the fish tank thing. Last week, when you were talking about liminality, my first thoughts went to where I live now. And I used to live in Egg Harbor at a beautiful home with my gallery on the first level. And when I could look out the back, I had 42 in the front for my business, but I had the Bay of Green Bay with all the sunsets. And so I had this beautiful open space to look at and with the magnificent skies all the time. Then I went from there basically to a 6-acre wonderful home in Gibraltar with my husband, and he passed away 3.5 years ago. And I love that space because I had all these trees. It was wooded and it had a meadow and it was all just right there, and it was very private. And as much as I love being with people, and I've done retail and all that my entire life, I'm really an introvert. And so I love that space. Well, I couldn't take care of it anymore, so I had to sell it. And 1.5 years ago, I moved to a condo on the south end of Fish Creek. And I'm feeling many times like I'm that fish in a goldfish bowl. Like my dog was barking during your medication because my neighbor came out of her door next door, because we're so close together. And I feel like this cluster of condos is like living in a fishbowl. So that's what I need to let go of to be able to relax and not let it bother me. I'm not used to seeing people when I walk out my door or look out my window, and so that's been a challenge for me.
So the letting go is, you're talking about letting go of the like the feelings that you're having about it.
Right. Letting go of those feelings of being closed in. And then on top of it, within 6 months after I moved, COVID hit. So then it's this feeling of being, caged in or put in a bowl. So
like a lot of other bowls all together.
Right. Kind of like, actually, when those thoughts came out was when you showed us the picture of the cages. And I was like, oh, okay, I can step out and go to the cage next door. Yes, it's my neighbor's, but it's right there. And do I want to go there? Or do I want to go out my sidewalk, which leads to the one across the road? It's there. They're all right here.
Wow.
I felt like I was putting myself really in that. I'm going to actually have that printed, that one of the cages that you gave us last week.
Yeah, that's a powerful piece.
Very powerful.
I really spent a lot of time just standing there because I went to the show and just kind of was like, when I saw that, I was really.
Later, I'd love for you to share with me more about him and his work, if you would.
He doesn't say much, so.
Oh, well, if I can just look him up with his name. Or
Yeah,
something,
yeah, I will
you know.
definitely share.
Thank you. But
I'm
that's
gonna
where
share
I'm.
some links in one of the emails too, so I will do that. You know, it's interesting because actually a family by like in-laws of, well, my brother's wife's sister actually is the director of the Arts Club of Chicago, where they had that show. The show was called Man Walking Towards a Fata Morgana, which means like a mirage. And actually, I would love to show you guys, since we're talking about this piece, I'm going to just minimize for a second because this, I'm going to screen share one of the wall pieces from his show. So I'm going to unpin you, Kathy, and then I am going to screen share. This is actually, I think this is the piece that's actually called Man Walking Towards a Fata Morgana. So it's like, I mean, when I looked at these, there was a lot of these on the wall at the Arts Club during this show. And these are all his paintings, but they actually have like wire grids over the paintings. And they're all like paintings of skies, but you're looking through a grid. So it's like you're in the cages.
Right.
And this is the view from inside. So you actually walk around the cages, looking at the cages, and then you go into this other room and you're like, oh my God, this is the view from inside the escape circuit piece. And when we did our, and I don't know if you saw if you watched the video, if you had time to watch the video, Valerie, but when we did the visualization for making art, we actually like allowed ourselves to kind of escape the escape circuit and be in that sky or whatever it was that people were visualizing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that. I did that exercise. I thought it was interesting.
And that was like immediately, okay, am I still screen sharing or are you guys seeing me now? Whoops.
We did see you, Dawn, until you went back to the picture.
I know, I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, wait a second. I am gonna just press escape and see. No, that doesn't do it.
You might want to do a new share on the bottom.
Oh, okay. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just stop share. There I am. Okay, I'm back. It's like for a second, I just totally forgot how to screen share. It happens. It's all, that kind of stuff is all pretty new. So, anybody else? I guess I should probably, it's already 10:41 and we're going to do a little bit more today, but we can spend as much time sharing as we want today because I do want to get as much, especially questions, but also see what's going on with you guys. If you have had any time to create or write more, if you've been journaling. Anne had mentioned in a message, I think on one of maybe in the group or on the event page that you had in the past done Julia Cameron's morning pages practice.
Yes. Yes.
So that is a practice that she talks about in the Artist's Way book series of getting up every morning and writing, which is the automatic writing practice, as I mentioned in the reply to that, is actually, I don't know exactly when it really originated, but I know that the surrealists in the early part of the 20th century, the surrealist artists did a lot of automatic writing and painting as a way to like tap into the subconscious and kind of find out what's really going on. So that sort of writing, like what we did after our embodiment meditation and the practice of the morning pages and any kind of automatic writing, give yourself something that you just want to start with, like anything. You can just say like, when I was 3 and just start writing. That practice really opens up a lot Oh, thanks, Jess. So
Can I say something? Share something?
what's that?
Hello? Can I share?
Oh, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm gonna go back to gallery
Yes,
just so I
hi.
can see who's talking. Okay, who was
Okay.
that? Sorry.
It's Mary.
Oh,
Mary?
okay. Yes, definitely share
Hello?
something.
Okay,
I'll pin you so that we
Hopefully
can
my
see you
connection-
sharing.
good. Okay.
Okay,
First of all, I wanted to say to Kathleen, thank you. That was very beautiful. And I can understand because I live in a beautiful space right now, 3 acres. And that's kind of my fear at some point, having to give it up and going to a smaller place. So I can really relate to that. It's something that's been on my mind. Your writing was beautiful. My writing is nowhere near that. I have been focusing more on doing a haiku because it's simple form. I'm not ready yet, but when you said the 3 pictures, I tend to be very ADD and I go from one project to the other and then never finish things and learn new things. But it reminded me of some pictures I took in an iPhone photography class. And I kind of laughed because I really let a lot of projects just fall through the gaps or fall through the cracks. And so I thought about this picture and I thought, wow, you know, here's one that I should dig out of the cracks and do something with. Hopefully you can see it. This is the picture that's going to be the basis of what I'm trying to work on. Can you see that clearly?
no,
It's a picture that I took.
Oh, yeah,
Is it-
now I can see you. You were frozen
Yeah.
for a minute, but now we can
Okay.
see you. Wow. Okay, yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was a picture I took with my iPhone. And I did some things to it, you know, from, you know, learning in the iPhone photography class. So I will be using that, hopefully, if my artwork turns out the way I want it to be in the show. So I just wanted to share that. And I wanted to thank Kathleen for her sharing. And I want you to know, Kathleen, that at any time, particularly once we get out of this COVID isolation, you are certainly welcome to come and share my 3 acres and sit on the deck if you want to get away a little bit and have some, you know, time in the woods and gardens. I would love to
Thank
have you.
you. I
Oh,
would
thank you
love-
for saying that, Mary. That's, and the same
Yes.
goes here, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd be
really goes-
anxious to meet you in
goes-
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really goes for anybody. You'd be welcome to just come and sit on the deck with me and enjoy the gardens that I have worked on and just the woods. And yes, we all feel, you feel the isolation in a condo life, and I'm feeling the isolation in 3 acres of woods. So
Yeah.
we're all feeling it in some way.
Right.
So definitely I wanted to reach out with you.
Thank you. And
And,
you're all
would
welcome
enjoy
to
meeting
join
you at
me.
some
You're
point.
all welcome to come over and visit me too and see my little, it's beautiful, but it's small. So it's cozy. I use the word cozy.
Cozy's
Wonderful.
nice, especially in January.
Thank you.
Is everybody on, are you on Facebook?
I am a little bit, I'm not
I
too
wanted
much
to
of a
ask-
Facebook. Oh,
Okay.
on our page,
Just how
here?
to reach people.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put you on gallery
on-
view for a minute so
I just-
everyone can converse there. Here we go. Mary Jo, you're kind of coming in and out a little bit too, but I think it's a connective thing, but I think we got most of that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, great.
is there
I was just
anybody
trying to figure
here?
out how we can reach everybody.
Is there anybody here that is not in the group yet on the Facebook, in the Facebook group called Between the Cracks? Not the event, but I did start a group.
I will go right
Um,
Mhm.
Okay, so if you have not joined the group on Facebook and you want to, just put your hands up so I kind of know. Okay, so we're all good with that, because I think then you can, you can see all the members of the group. If you go to group members, you can see all the members, and then you could do a friend request through that. That's probably
Good.
the best way to do it. That's where we're all connected right now. We're also connected through email.
just
So, I think, emailing someone, because I couldn't email everyone through MailChimp because the Gmails weren't going through. Now I'm emailing you through my business email, and you can actually see in the, like the CC or the BCC, you can see everyone in the list. You can see their emails. So if you want to email someone, I mean, like, make sure it's good with them. Like, say, I'm sending you this email. I hope you don't mind me contacting you and having your email, and like, get their permission. But, that would be another possibility. Because it is kind of nice, and I'll keep that group going. I mean, we can keep that group going as long as we want, because I think, like Kathleen had said, when I saw it yesterday, she stopped by with the family in the shop, and she said, we could have like so many more classes, and we could have more classes. We can have discussion in the group, like anywhere you want to take this is fine with me. I love that there's an interest and an excitement about it. And I think it is kind of like it's a big opening, and it could go on and continue on for quite a while, with as one new thing is learned and then kind of integrated into you, and then you express it with some art, then it may lead to something else, and it would be very exciting as a group to see where that goes, if it does go anywhere. So definitely stay in there if you are. And I know not everybody is on Facebook, so I will make sure that, like, if there's any kind of big things that you need to know, that I send out an email too, so that you are informed. Also, with the group, you can set, I know, like, not every, I think I'm doing that loud talking thing again, sorry. You can set your settings somewhere in that group. You can set that you want to get notifications about the group, so that when there is something on there, and then, we all just try to kind of keep it relevant. So we're not posting every meme and every, entertaining, even though it can be really awesome and everything. Like, I love seeing like animal gifs if I need to laugh, but we'll save that for something else and not the group. So so that people aren't getting notifications like, 10 times a day too. But I do want, and I really do ask that you share, if you find something or have an experience, anything that's related to this project, please do share it with the group. I definitely invite everyone to post on there, and it's set up that way so you can post your work. If you want to post your work and share what you're working on, if you want feedback from the group, if you don't, you can say so. All of that, I think it's a great place to do it, where we can just kind of do it as we're going along. And it is not the same as in-person hugs and contact, but it is a really, like, I think it's turning into a very heart-centered connection. So, and I was actually thinking, Kathleen, also when you said that about your feelings about where you're living now, now that we did that exercise, and especially hearing what Shannon said about her experience with it, like, maybe that's a way to start trying to connect with your space and see, like, go into that heart space and then try entering your space from there and see if anything shifts for you over time. All right, and it looks like Chris has something to say.
Well, I'm one of these kind of procrastinators this week, so I have to apologize. But I started out kind of gung ho right after the session, and I even talked with my friend. I sent her an email and said, I'm going to do this. The thing that when that first writing exercise that we did, there was something I wrote mostly just single words, but I just also wrote no looking back. And I kind of, it caused me to do a few things with some belongings that I had to, like, just say, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this anymore. Why am I doing it? Kind of, you know, I had been starting to move away from certain things that I had done in the past. And I just was I got involved in actually getting rid of it and selling it and getting it out, you know, stuff I would never have done on online selling. It's like the first time I mean, I just don't do that. And so that part, so I used up a lot. I sold it right away, and I just used up a lot of time doing that. But at the same time, I was, I don't dream much. I didn't have any dreams, but I woke up and I had thoughts that I thought, I got to remember this. I'm going to remember this. And I didn't remember it. And I haven't remembered it. They were just thoughts about moving forward on things. And I thought, I'm not somebody who ever kept anything. I just don't have any, I don't get up. I just go to bed and get up. That I'm not one of these that read or keep a journal, or I've just never done that. And so I'm kind of contemplating on how to keep track of these thoughts, because I think it will help me. But I do have, when I started this, I really didn't have a concept of doing a piece, but I think I have come up with something. Whether or not it exactly happens, I don't know, but it has, I think that after today, when I don't feel like I'm on I don't know, not that I felt like I was on a schedule, but it was a little more than I'm used to doing. And in terms of looking into myself and what I need to do and to create. I'm not very good at sharing. I just, I just don't really, this arts part is like harder for me, even though I've always done crafty stuff, and it's hard for me to be, I don't know how to say it exactly, but my feelings are there. I've got this, it's very positive. I just didn't quite get the exercises done, but I still plan to do them. I still plan to do them. And it's like a positive thing in my head that I want to do. So that's me. I'm the procrastinator, not necessarily in a bad way, I don't think, for this particular thing. So, so I'm looking forward, and I hope we maybe try to do this again somehow in some kind of form down the way, because I think it is helpful. I like this very much.
Oh, well, thank you. And I actually really appreciate you expressing that, because I think I did get a little bit of like personal messaging from people about feeling sort of like, you know, it's a class, so I got to do my homework. And now I'm feeling bad because I didn't do my homework. And I don't really, you know, I don't want any of that. And I don't know that I mentioned it yet, but the deadline, or like when we're going to need work as far as to hang a show, is not until the 1st of March. So there is time. And the second thing I wanted to say about that is it does not have to be a very elaborate piece of work. These unusual circumstances with COVID and the Kress being very limited as to visitors, and some of it will just be online if you choose to let your piece be online. It can be, I guess I really have this image of it being a little more like, you know, someone might just show like a sketchbook page or a poem. You know, Kathy's writing, like, that was beautiful. You could really just print that out or even handwrite it, and that could be the piece. Because what I'm really hoping that will be shared from this experience is something that really comes from within, not something that's sort of like is being created to be seen. Even though it will be seen. And I think, like, as you mentioned about not sharing that way often, and it is really different, and it is, I think it's very vulnerable, and there's a feeling of sort of exposing your inner self. And, you know, when in the early days of making art, that was very, very challenging for me. And I made some inauthentic art to kind of put out there in the world. because I didn't really want to show the pieces that were sort of like me exposing more of myself than I was used to, kind of like keeping hidden in my shell, and it's not easy. And so I do over and over again keep saying, and I can't say it enough, is that, I don't want anyone to feel the pressure to show something if they don't feel ready for it. But I also encourage you to kind of maybe take that little leap. If you feel like I kind of want to do it, but I'm scared, that's a fear. That's not one of those good fears. Like, there's good fears. If a bus is like hurtling towards you, like, yeah, get out of the way. But if you're afraid to like take the next step because it feels sort of vulnerable, and as a group we're all saying like, hey, this piece is, I'm getting a lot out of it and other people will too, then maybe that's the encouragement that you need to put it out there, even if it is like a sketch. I love seeing artists sketches personally. I love shows where like you see artists where sometimes like an artist whose work you've seen for years, and all of a sudden you see their sketchbook and it's like, oh, now I get you, So, and that's, I think, what we're, especially after COVID, like, that's what we want to know about people. We don't want to know like your career. We want to know like, who are you really? Like, what are you really going through? Like Kathy sharing those feelings of, just needing a hug, like that opens us up more than, some big presentation. So I am all about vulnerability, even though it's like the hardest thing in the world for me. So, so I'm there with you on both sides of it. I did want to ask, just so that I kind of know what people are seeing, when Chris and I were both talking, or when Chris was sharing, did you guys see her as a big screen? I pinned her. So you were seeing like the two of us side by side and the rest of you. And then when I switch back now, everybody's seeing gallery view.
No, I have to create my own I have to go up and say gallery or speaker
Okay.
view on my screen.
Okay.
Whatever you're doing isn't affecting what I.
Okay, I see. So now
Yeah,
I'm seeing.
Yeah, what you're doing, they get to select what they're doing. What you're doing, I think, will affect the recording.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure, like, when one of you is sharing, especially when you're sharing pieces, that everyone else is seeing that up close. And speaking of that, I do have Lisa's 3x3 pieces. Did you want me to share them, Lisa? And then do you have something you're going to read? I'm going to ask you to unmute, and I'm going to pin you so that.
It's fine to share all the images. That's fine. And I'd like to talk about the Crossroads one. So I also put off my homework until yesterday, because I'm just going to say it wasn't time. It wasn't ready yet. It was gestating and brewing until yesterday. And I sat with the timer and did like 5-minute writing on each image also, which I found yesterday. And I didn't really think about what they would be. I was really trying to be in a liminal space. I was trying to not be up here and trying to be everywhere else. But it turns out when I see them all, I think they're really pretty spot on for what I'm feeling and going through. And I'm most feeling the Crossroads place. And I also love that image. So you can put them all up and they're all marked as I recall. So whenever.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the first picture first. Okay, everybody seeing this one? What am I leaving behind? And this one you just wanted to show, you don't really want to talk about that one as much.
Not really, though, I mean, a little bit. I'm not going to read what I wrote necessarily, but I love the fact that it's a stagnant image. I mean, it really talks about, because my other two little essays and my other two images are more about movement, and that's all what my writing is about. And the first writing and what I want to leave behind is stagnation and being stuck and being trapped and feeling alone. And so this image spoke to all of that very well.
Yeah.
And that is me in a sculpture that's actually outside on a street in New York City somewhere.
It's pretty amazing.
It
It
really
made me
is.
think of Janelle's tangled roots that she mentioned
Mhm.
last week. As soon as I saw that, I thought of the I mean, they're not overly tangled, but there's a feeling of sort of like being trapped, like you said.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. The last few years of my life, there's this sort of like vague feeling of being trapped that now that like we're in this space kind of like separate but together um, globally, there's a strange feeling of like the trappedness sort of exposing itself. And then
Mhm.
you start to see the places where you can get out. So I loved seeing that image. Not that I want to impose my interpretation on it, but I guess I just did in a way. So. We'll go to the next one because this is the one that you said you wanted to talk about more, right? There we go. Is everybody seeing the crossroads now?
Yeah, and so am I being heard? Because
Yeah,
I
I
feel
can
like
hear
my
you.
computer is being funky again, but so this is a photograph that I took and didn't realize how really cool it was until I got home and looked at my phone and I was like, oh, holy crap, look at that. I mean, there's a lot going on there. What you're seeing is I was standing on a bridge that's on top of a piece of the Rock River that goes through not too far where I live and where I walk. And basically the 3/4 of the picture, or 2/3 of it is the water, and it's the reflection of the sky onto the water and the reflection of the trees onto the water. And it's just really very much feels like what I'm dealing with or what I'm going through right now. And it is a crossroads. And I wrote beauty, rest, learning, movement, light, a bridge, a friend on a bridge, reflection, big time reflection. Seeing the difference between the true and the perceived true. Walking through the trauma, being with the big emotions, staying rooted while still branching. Roots and branches are equal, though you can't see the roots often. The roots are the communicators, the sharers, the base of the tree. Work on communication and root base. See the reflections, see the bigger picture. Letting me be whatever and whoever I need to be. So that's my crossroads.
That's lovely.
Yeah. It's kind of like a challenging but beautiful place to be.
That's absolutely how it feels.
Wow. It's interesting. The illusion and the real, the illusion of the real and the real are both beautiful. And yet, if you were to say, I'm gonna, like if you were to like suddenly want to go to those clouds, you would fall in the water. Like it wouldn't be a beautiful experience anymore.
Right. Exactly. Nor would it be necessarily to fall into the water, but I prefer to fall into the water because I know I can swim. And even though it's probably cold, I'm still not afraid because I know I can swim. But I definitely cannot fly, at least not in this body this time.
Well, I am kind of loving this also because I have a movement practice for you guys, which involves a little flying. So
Very cool.
there's the sinking. So I'll show the third one. So we'll look at the third one before we close these up. And so this is what I'm taking with me, right? Yeah.
What I'll be bringing with me, and ironically, it's in the water. It's a picture of, again, it's in the most moving of all of the pictures, most movement in it and colorful. And it's the stuff that I want to bring with me, which is all about movement and color and light, because that's also about light. So yeah, thank you for sharing those since I was unable to.
Thank you so much for sharing these with us. I'm going to stop the share now and put us back. And then I can unpin you unless you have something else you want to say, Lisa.
No, just thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. And I'm loving this. It's very, very helpful for me. I am going through a lot, and the reflection, the ability to be able to be very conscious of my art and the emotional situations and it's really helpful. So thank you.
I'm wearing your earrings right now.
I see that. Those are your earrings, Dawn.
Lisa has jewelry in my shop, so I'm gonna remove the pin. I'm gonna put you guys all back on gallery view again so I can see you all. And okay, I really appreciate the sharing. I don't want to stop if anyone has anything else that they would like to share today. And if you want me to set up something so that we can have like another sharing session, maybe halfway through the month would make sense, or like while we're in the middle of working on our pieces for the show. It seems like this could be really helpful just for us all to see what each other is doing. And maybe when we're far enough into it that you're not too influenced with your own work, but at the same time we can have this sort of shared group experience. So the feeling of the show is more it's not just like I'm doing this alone. I'm doing this with we're all doing this together. We're making a shared experience for people of our experience. And I think like another meeting would be great for that. So I'll email you guys about that and get it out in the group, and we can figure out what works for people and stuff. So before we take a little break and then do a movement practice, just anyone want to say anything else as far as like liminality itself, anything about it that you either had questions or that maybe really affected you or struck you? Also, the idea of embodiment when it comes to liminality, like how to be in liminal space and yet centered in your body. If there's anything that was kind of new or important for you with that, just do a little. Yep, Shannon.
So I'll try to be brief. So the term luminality is really new to me. And do you think as like a society before it's deja vu? Like when the whole time I'm listening to you describe luminality, I think I've always called that deja vu. Like when I have this moment of something seems familiar, and usually when it happened in that pre-dream, post-dream, relaxed state. And then later on down the road, I'll have this like deja vu moment. And now I would use the term luminality. So I was just curious.
My personal take on that, and I'd love to hear if anyone else has any thoughts, would be that maybe the deja vu is an experience where you're really kind of like more like focused and awake, more in your like linear sort of, you're really conscious in a kind of like in the ways that we're more used to, and then you're remembering the liminal state. So the liminal state is the dream,
right, that led to the deja vu.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like, anyway, it just,
well, I love that you brought up deja vu, because I didn't even think about that much, but I think deja vu is sort of like a waking experience of the liminal state.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think it is. And that's always in my mind, the way I described it without the word liminal, without that word. Like it's always, like when people say they don't have deja vu, like, well, just think back to like when you're conscious, you're just being semi-conscious, and then you experience something you and they're like, oh yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, those deja vus are, and then like, the internet has really, I think, changed our experiences of that a bit too. That sometimes we see things and it's like, did I see this before? And then sometimes you actually did and you just forgot. And sometimes it's like, oh no, this is new, but somehow I dreamt it in, or it was in my consciousness before I saw it. And it's a little bit like there's a writer named Rupert Sheldrake, and I do have some of his books in this used book section that I'm building up in the store. I'm not going to try to totally promote the used books all the time, but I'm really into it. And I can't read them all. So there's a lot on there too. But Rupert Sheldrake writes a lot about consciousness, and consciousness as a field of study is really growing right now. Donna Haraway is a really well-known academic in like the academic world. I don't know if she's necessarily well-known in like the broader culture, but she talks a lot about, or she works there's actually a department that she started in UW, or not UW, USC, somewhere in the University of California system. I can't remember now which one it is, Santa Cruz. She started the Department of Consciousness Studies, which is like an integrated department. But my point was that Rupert Sheldrake writes about things that happen that we can't explain in the mechanistic models of science, and often sort of joining it with studies of physics. And one of the titles of his books is The Sense of Being Stared At, which is another one of those things like a deja vu, where it's like, how did I know that that person was in the room? Or how did I know that my mom was just about to call? Or, you know, there's not an explanation for it, and yet it just happened. So like, how did I know that I was going to see this person today before I saw them? And those do feel like maybe liminality and our other like sort of super conscious brain are like crossing over at that moment. Did you want to join in there, Lisa, or?
Well, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that's liminality. That's like letting yourself be in the liminal space, as like you said, when you're creating art. It's something that has just been trained out of us. It's something that little kids, as you well know, will go right into and not even think about. It's what for me makes the joy of being with small children, because it hasn't been threatened out of them, or fear or shamed out of them. That staying in liminal space and enjoying it and being in it, and you know,
Oh, you froze up again, Lisa, but we got most of it.
It's when you do tarot reading, and there are that would appreciate. Yeah, the cards are talking. Yeah, they're going. You're in a liminal space, and you're listening to. How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Am I back?
Oh, yeah, you're going in and out.
The suspension of disbelief. Okay, well, I said mostly what I wanted to say. It's.
And those are, and I think we got most of it, and you're right. I mean, that's all liminal. The thing is, like, when we are in the modern world, like we talked about liminality as a term was first used by Victor Turner, and that, or actually even before him, Van Gennep, and then Victor Turner. It was used in a different context than we talk about it in modern life. And it really makes you realize how in modern life, especially now, like in this sort of internet age that we live in, where we're all kind of connected, but not. And even more so during COVID, where we're sort of like separated, but connected, and, borders and edges and who we are in space, in our relationship to space, all these things are so fuzzy now, where they were like a little more defined for us before. And at the same time, simultaneously, like the fields of physics are, I mean, what physics has discovered in the last 100 years, as a like a sort of a collective culture, we're not even like we're nowhere near caught up with what they were talking about 50 years ago. As far as like a definition of reality. So all of these things sort of merging together does create this, like, we're just kind of almost like drifting in and out of it all the time, where I would say, 20 years ago as an artist, I felt like I go into it when I make art, and then I step out of it when I go in the world. And I didn't like that. I wanted to be in it all the time, but it felt like forced on me. Like I have to, I mean, I remember being in college and thinking like, well, you got it. Like, it's like, you kind of have to do this act, just to be okay in the world and be a part of it. And having this really reluctant and sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out agreement to that. And I think, some of us have done that in our lives with all these different levels of awareness of that's what's happening. So that is, okay, I was just now seeing this message that you sent me, Jess, so thank you. I'm learning how to use Zoom.
I just need to say one thing. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
who's,
Can you
wait,
hear me?
I can hear it.
Mary Jo is speaking.
Oh, wait
I
a minute.
know, I'm
There you
breaking
are.
up.
Okay. Your picture freezes up, but I see
Okay,
you and I'm
great.
going to spotlight you. There we go. Okay, now,
I need,
oops.
I need to sign off. I want to say goodbye to everybody and thank you. This has been very good. And I hope to communicate with you guys again. And I just joined the Facebook page, so it's all good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mary
Mary
Jo.
Jo.
And
Bye.
thank you for your puppy. I think there's lots of us who have puppies today on our laps.
Oh yeah, he's there.
Yeah, mine's
Hi.
here too.
There he is. Bye.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you for your
Bye, everybody.
sharing too.
Bye.
And thank you.
I think my ears are finally warm enough that I can take that off. It was really cold in here, but I cranked the heat when I came in, so.
You have those in your shop, Don?
The
Those-
indigo scarves, yeah. Yeah, I have a few left, but
Oh, it's a scarf.
it's really, it's my staple. You can use it so many ways. So, and I don't like being cold at all. Why don't we take a little break and then we'll come back and do some, just a bit of a movement exercise. And I'm gonna I'll keep the break kind of short so that we have time for like 10 minutes of movement. And then the rest of the time we'll be doing some art making. I even brought my big paper and crepas today. I want to incorporate this movement into our art. So if you do have something big to work on, please use it. But if not, even like, even if all you have is computer paper, just put a bunch of pieces down this time to see if you can kind of like work a little big. We're going to try to actually like put our whole body into it a little bit at the end of class today. So feel free to take a little break. I know I need to just for a second to run to the bathroom, and I will be back in a minute.
Well, this shelf is here.
Okay, it looks like people are starting to come back, and take your time. I just put a picture up on the screen of some of the people that were, this is the tribe. I don't think it's the same time period. The photo looks too new, but these are some boys going through an initiation ritual from the Malawi tribe, which is the tribe that Victor Turner worked with in the 60s. And just for fun, because this is just such a fun thing to share. Although I want to wait until everyone's back so they can see both pictures. So we'll give it a few more minutes and just let you enjoy looking at these individuals here in the photograph. So when we do the movement, we're going to actually be mostly standing, but you're going to need room around you to do a little bit of like full body movement. And if you don't want to be seen, then just, do it over to the side. That's fine. I'm going to try to set it up so you can see most of me. And while you're getting set up, I put the picture up of the boys undergoing initiation ritual in the Malawi tribe, as Victor Turner had worked with when he worked or really popularized the term liminality. So they're about to go into or have just come out of a liminal experience of initiation. And then I just wanted to share this because I just love it. This is the Chicago artist Nick Cave. If you don't know about Nick Cave, he is a performance artist and sculptor who lives in Chicago. And he does these fantastic dance movement pieces in these elaborate, the first one I ever saw was called the Pencil Suit, and it was all pencils. But I chose this one because it's so this is one of his suits. I don't know if it's him or not wearing it. It's hard to tell who's wearing it, but it could be him or it could be someone else wearing it in a performance piece. Sometimes there will be a whole group of people wearing these suits and doing their dances. They're just fantastic. And I just was very much like, I feel like maybe there's two screens being shared right now. Or are you guys seeing Nick?
Seeing Nick.
Okay.
Just Nick.
Okay. I've got like multiple green borders on my screen and I don't know why, but that's okay. As long as you're seeing what you're supposed to see. So yeah, so that was, something just to think about too while you're working is, when we're talking about the body as this sort of, as the place where we're experiencing from and like this, really the center of our experience with space and the space around us. So reality, really, that when you're creating art, the body itself is the expression of the experience. And then the piece that you make is actually sort of like the artifact of the experience. So it's just something to sort of maybe just give a little thought to when you're making art for the show or at any time. What is the art? Is it you? Is it the moment that you make it, the process, or is it the piece when it's finished? Because we live in a world where everything is about the object. So it's all about the piece because that's the thing you can sell. That's the commodity. It's a commodity culture that we live in. But the term liminality did not come out of commodity cultures. So what the boys in the Malawi culture were experiencing had nothing to do with like that photograph that came out of it. And what Nick Cave does really has nothing to do with this photograph. It has to do with the moment his body is on the stage in expression, or the body of the dancers, whoever's in the suits. And that can't be commodified. So, wow. Just wanted you to have that to think about a little bit, but I don't want you to get too hung up in the thoughts right now, because we're going to go into our bodies ourselves. And so I'm going to clear a little space for myself. And I hope you can see me okay. You can't really see my whole body, but a lot of this is just going to be your interpretation too of the movement. So you don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just kind of putting myself up here so that if you want to look and just center yourself and figure out like what is going on here, and then you always have me to look at. But you can, and I do think like for some of it, it's going to be good to close your eyes, but there's going to be times where you should have your eyes open for balance, and so you don't hurt yourself or bump into something. And I was doing a practice video last night at home, and I totally smashed my hand into the light above the dining table. So watch out for lights and other objects. Okay, so we'll start out standing. And then I just want you to just kind of keep yourself in a real balanced position here. So stand with your legs pretty much like right below your hips, hip distance apart, arms to the side, eyes gently closed. Take a minute to go into your breath. Keeping your eyes closed. I want you to just for a minute visualize that you're in a space. It's like a hallway. It can let it look however it looks to you. Maybe it looks more like a tunnel or an apartment building hallway, or a dark, long hallway to the unknown. But it's very long. Way off in the distance, you can see that there is like a threshold or a doorway, but it's way off in the distance, and you're deep inside this hallway. And it's pretty dark. That light from that doorway is casting just enough light you can kind of see the edges of things around you. And around you, there are others. There are other people around you. And you're sort of in the center of the hallway. They're a little bit off to the edges. You're standing here centered in yourself. But what you're sensing from what's going on around you is a lot of pushing and pulling. Maybe some fight energy. You're not in danger. They're not fighting you. But you want to get out. It's not where you want to be. So you're going to have to gather up your strength to get out of here. You're a long way to that doorway, and there's a lot going on around you. And the energy in the space feels really thick. It feels thick and heavy, almost like you're in quicksand. The air is like quicksand, and just moving out of this space is not going to be easy. So we're going to start out, we're just going to clap above our heads. Just clap. You're going to start clearing this space. And just get ready to push and expand and push and clear. So you're going to do some real, like you're pushing into a cement wall, or you're pushing into thick cement or quicksand, and then you're clearing it, and push and clear and push and clear. And you're going to slowly start moving through this hallway. One of the things you notice right away is that there's actually people moving with you. You're actually clearing space, not just for yourself, but there's people following you. There's others that are coming out of here with you. You're passing a lot of this energy that you just want to get out of. So push and clear. Push and clear. And really, really use your strength, like feel the resistance and push. If you have anything inside you that's just feeling like energy, like maybe even rage or anger or frustration, like let it out with those pushes. Just push it. You're not pushing on a person, you're just pushing that air. And then clear. All right, we're getting closer. We're moving ourselves and these others behind us down the tunnel, the hallway. We're pushing still, getting closer and closer. And as you get closer to this doorway, the air is starting to feel a little lighter, a little easier. You don't have to put all that effort into it anymore. You can just sort of swim. So now you're not moving through cement, you're moving through water. Don't hold your breath. I didn't mention that and I forgot to, but take some deep breaths with this breathing, especially because it's starting to feel a little bit like a relief. You're getting closer. Once you get to the doorway, this threshold, you're going to want to stop because you really don't know what's out there. You can see the light, but you can't really make out anything in it. So you're just going to stop and plant yourself down and spread out your arms. You are the doorway now. If you're comfortable doing this, you may want to put your feet a little further apart so that you can just lean back, but lean back from your ribs and your heart and your shoulders. Don't arch your sternum. Keep your sternum as upright as you can. Keep your hips upright and just lean back like the top, like shoulder, chest area of your body. If it's comfortable, you can put your head back, but you don't have to. You can keep your head facing forward too. Give yourself a good stretch. You're stretching your wings now because this space that you're about to enter, you can't even see the bottom of it. So you're going to have to fly. It's pretty scary. You have never done this before. You've been swimming, you've been pushing through the mud and the concrete and the quicksand, but you haven't tried the flying yet. So it's kind of scary and exhilarating and a little stretching and hugging. Hopefully Kathy will enjoy this. Give yourself a good hug and love yourself. And then stretch out and love the world and all those others that have been able to get through that clearing that you made. Hug yourself. Stretch. Love yourself. Love the world. Love yourself. Love the world. You can start to feel yourself get lighter. And breathe. Feel the love. Feel the lightness. Okay, now for the fun part. So you're going to need your eyes open for this because we are going to jump into that space. So whatever fear there is about this space, now you're going to let it go. You are ready to go and just dive into the space and fly and fly and fly. And now I just really want you to fly in your own way. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care like how silly or ridiculous it is, but you are flying. Maybe you're like a helicopter, or maybe your wings are flapping up and down, whatever it takes to keep your body in the air. And the air is light and it feels good, but you got to keep moving because you're flying. So keep that moving and just keep yourself moving through the space and start remembering as you're flying that you know this heart energy can change everything. So kind of lead with it. Try to lead with that heart energy that you felt earlier today and fly through the space. And if you want to just fly around the room, do it. Swoosh up and down a little, you know, think about how birds just enjoy the currents of the air, and maybe you do a little dive down and then you come back up and enjoy the air because you're flying now. And now, as much as you could just keep flying forever, we see on the other side of this grand expanse that we flew through a mountain, and on the side of the mountain there's a big open ledge. It's very safe and there's others there, so you can just maybe glide, maybe hover. You're going to bring yourself into this space and you're going to land. And then you look down, look across, you can see that doorway you came from, you can see that dark hallway, you can see this large expanse. It's all clear now, you see everything. Take a deep breath. And open your eyes. I hope everybody had fun flying. What do we have for time? So we've got about 15 minutes, so feel free to just keep working on this after we're done. And you can do as many as you want. But what I want you to start doing right away while you're still kind of in this energy, you know, take a breath if you need to, sit down if you need to. But while you're in the energy now, pick a few colors. If you're working with color that you feel, maybe even saw in that space, or you saw in your heart energy. And then I want us to start with one where we are just actually, we're gonna just move with that same feeling of flight on the page. So whatever movements you were doing for flight, I want you to put those down now on paper and try to really even move your whole body with it if you can. Maybe this is your flight pattern drawing. Maybe there's different movements and they're going to be together on one page. Don't think about what it's supposed to look like after you're finished. Just think about getting that movement down. if you start to lose focus a little bit while you're doing it, go ahead and just kind of bring yourself back into that feeling. Even swing your arms around a little bit. Go back into flying if you need to. So I just unpinned myself. So we're on gallery view just for the last few minutes of class. Feel free to keep working. You don't have to stop, but I just wanted to warn people if you do have to be somewhere at noon, it's about 4 minutes to 12 right now. And since it's a Saturday, hopefully a lot of you don't. And you can just keep making art. Does anybody want to hold anything up before we go? All right. It actually is kind of like, I'll hold mine up. I mean, it's that feeling of the movement. Those are pretty similar in their movements. Feels really good putting it down. Ooh, who's am I looking at? Chris, wow. It's you know that like when I look at this, if you want to unmute so you can talk about it, feel free, but you don't have to. But when I look at it, I kind of see like those flight diagrams of like when they show like bees and stuff. Like that looks like a diagram of your flight all over the place.
That's more or less what I was doing, was just more or less my arms were constantly moving when we were doing that exercise. So I really just was doing what my arms were doing when I did this with different, just pencil. So that's what I did.
Thank you. How do you guys feel after flying around?
Yeah.
Gonna do more? On a closing note, when I was a kid, I was really bad in gym. Like I was not a good gym participant. I was really I was a tomboy and totally like liked climbing trees and playing with dogs and horses and stuff, but I just didn't like gym class, and especially poison ball because they played it back in that day, which was like horrific and terrifying. But I used to like, I had these really vivid dreams where I'd be flying over gym class, like, ha ha. It was my like moment of power, even though I was experiencing it all by myself and no one else knew.
You spit on them?
I really just got so into the flying. I really didn't care. Like it was so great. I would, it felt like swimming, and you would, in the flight, in the dream, you could fly up to a wall and then like push yourself away. Like, you know, in a swimming pool, when you push yourself off the side of the pool and then get a lot of speed and get going and then like spin around and go back to the wall and like push myself out. And I would be just doing that. I'm like, now I like gym. So we are at 1 minute to noon. Anyone else want to say anything? A lot of you are muted, so if you do, just unmute yourself if you want to say anything. I hope you all have flying dreams tonight.
But not fall out of bed.
But don't fall out of bed, especially if it's really a high bed.
Oh, it was wonderful. We enjoyed the morning.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed all the sharing, you guys. That was very, and I'm kind of actually looking forward to watching the video again so I can, you know, there were times where I was distracted by making sure I was spotlighting people or pinning people. So I'm going to go back and listen to everything you shared again too. Feel free to share more in the group, like I said, too, as much as you want to. Ask
Thank you.
questions if you're, as you're working on something for the show, but just remember almost anything goes. Pretty sure we were saying, and I'll send out all the details, but I'm pretty sure it was under 30 inches for the width
Yes.
of a piece.
Yes.
That's right.
Length,
Okay.
length does not really matter.
Yeah, they're tall walls.
Depth does, because people are walking by the pillars or the concrete, you know, places where we're going to be hanging them. So it's the 30 inches wide, just typical, you know, a couple inches deep if you want to, but length doesn't matter.
Do you need to have a little spiel about it?
Only if you want to.
Okay.
I'll write up something about the course, like what we did in the workshop. So what led up to it, so people know, you know, what the context is for what they're looking at. But it's wonderful if you want to, but that's up to you.
Remember that it's a library and a community center, so there are people hopefully walking around during the show, and if not, it will be on Zoom. So anything that they can learn from you, from your experience, is what they're going to feel in addition to looking at your piece. So it is helpful to know where an artist is coming from, or, you know, like if you were there, they'd love to talk to you, but you don't have to. But, you know, a piece stands on its own, but it's always nice to have something.
Yeah, even if you do want to give a little bio too, or why you decided to take the class, or anything about it, really, your ideas about liminality. I feel like there's so much to say, and I am hoping that you all have a lot to share with that, so that I can also just learn more about everyone here.
Yes. Well, we are flying to Sister Bay to go get some smoked fish. So I'm going to be leaving with my granddaughter.
Okay, and I'm opening the shop, so
So bye, everybody. I hope you do that like mid-February. I hope you do that back.
I'll plan on something. I'll send out an email so I can just, you know, see if this time of day works well for people. If there's like maybe an evening time or a day of the week, whatever. Maybe we'll do a couple with smaller groups. So we'll try to see what works for people. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
bright
you, Dawn.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.